before I do talk about Pedri's contract renewal, I firstly do want to report about Pedri's condition versus PSG. And it says here, according to Javi Miguel, that Pedri did not complete the training session and everything indicates that he will not be in Paris. However, there is a green light for Frenkie de Jong and Christensen. Frankie's sensation is very, very good. So as expected, we even talked about this before, Pedri may not make it. Most likely he's not going to be in the squad, but most importantly, Barcelona will be receiving back Frenkie de Jong and Christensen to form a great midfield against PSG. Again, as for Pedri, after the match against PSG, they're going to be playing against Cadiz. We'll see if Pedri does feature in the match against Cadiz, and if not, then he can just return for the match against PSG again, which will be the second leg at Barcelona's home stadium. In the end, the fact that Barcelona can place a midfield of Gundogan, Frenkie, and Christensen, that will be just enough. So now let's move on to the question, right? There has been a lot of debates going on within the Barcelona fan base on whether Barcelona should move on from Pedri. Like, is Barcelona better without Pedri? And I'm going to be explaining why the Barcelona fan base is thinking in this way and why Barcelona maybe in the future could be looking to push out Pedri. But it does say here, according to Ferran Martinez, that Barcelona has informed Pedri about his desire to renew his contract, which currently expires in 2026. The club considers him a structural player for the present and the future. Pedri is currently focused on recovering and returning, and later his agent will meet with the club to discuss the basis of a new contract. More than a formal proposal, it was a declaration of intent from Barcelona as a sign of support and absolute confidence to the player who has gone through difficult times because of injuries in recent years. So first things first, this is good news, because the fact that Barcelona do see Pedri as a player for the future, it's always great news. Me, in my personal and honest opinion, when I hear that Pedri is going to be staying at Barcelona for the next 6 to 7 years minimum, I do see a positive future. But here's the thing though, right? This is where the speculation does come in. We don't know exactly how Barcelona do view Pedri's contract and his renewal, because what if they want to renew the player only to resell the player later down the road, to prepare for the worst case scenario in case Pedri never really makes it out there and becomes the best number 8 in the world? Because remember, at one point Barcelona were receiving offers for like 95 million euros for the player, and if not, maybe even more than 95 million euros. So he could be a big sale in the future if Barcelona are really looking out for it. And that is where the questions do come in, right? Because is Barcelona better off without Pedri? Because Barcelona are in a brand new position. If Xavi does continue, let's just say that Xavi does stay with us for a very long time, he's going to continue to opt for a double pivot. So it is going to be Frenkie de Jong and a central defensive midfielder. So it can be Frenkie and Zubimendi, or Frenkie and Kimmich, or Frenkie and Amadou Onana. It could be anybody. And in the end, it's two players that are going to be taking two positions within a midfield of 3, leaving only one position open, which is the number 8 position. And right now we have a player like Gundogan, who is our current present. He is somebody that can play with us for the next 2 years and really bring in good results. Moving on from Gundogan, we have a player like Gavi, who is currently at Barcelona right now. He's very underrated as a creator. When you compare Pedri and Gavi in terms of their creation abilities, you can see that Pedri and Gavi are in the exact same rating. Look at their key passes. Gavi does match Pedri. If you look at the other stats, you can see that Pedri does overpower Gavi in progressive passes, forward passes, and even carrying the ball. But that has a lot to do with where Pedri does play on the pitch compared to Gavi. Of course, when Pedri is being placed in the highest position as a midfielder, he is going to be having much more progressive passes and forward passes. Gavi plays in a much deeper role. If you put Gavi in Pedri's spot, you better bet that Gavi's progressive passes and forward passes will skyrocket. And then as you can see there on the defensive actions, Gavi is just much better. And so can you imagine Gavi being the number 8, supplying those key passes, and also being the front press, right? Pressing the opposition over and over again through his defensive actions. You'll get much more energy up top. Also keep in mind that these are stats from the previous season, not this season, because Pedri and Gavi did not play enough this season to get enough data. And last season also, you can see that they both played more than 3,500 minutes, which is of course enough data to truly see what type of players Pedri and Gavi are. Moving on to another couple of 8s, Noah Darovic. Xavi Hernandez has really been eyeing Noah Darovic to potentially go into the first team in the future. Noah Darovic with Barcelona Athletic has 3 goals and 2 assists. Another player that is dying to go into the first team as a number 8 is Gulli Fernandez, who is like 15 or 16 years old. So Xavi has really been paying attention to the youngsters that are coming through the academy. And I won't be surprised if Xavi does inject more La Masia talent into the squad within these next 6 to 8 months, because Xavi is just really good at doing so. Another player that many have been talking about is Musiala. Now Musiala is much more of a fantasy signing, but many have been discussing, could Musiala potentially be a Barcelona player in about 1 to 2 years. Remember that there is this new transfer policy that Barcelona want to spend big on only world-class players. Like they're only willing to spend big time for players who are generational. Musiala is one of them. Barcelona will no longer pay for players who are like B-tier type of players. If Barcelona want to strengthen certain positions, they're only going to be looking at La Masia, and that's basically it. So the future of Barcelona's number 8 position is very well covered because of the amount of players that are up and coming. And this is the reason why many have questioned, like the whole football world have been questioning, could Barcelona move on from Pedri? Like, is that a possibility? Or are they better off without Pedri because of who Barcelona have today? Because the options that Barcelona had back in 2020, 2021, and 2022 is not the same to what Barcelona have today, which is 2023 and 2024. Because back in 2020, 2021, 2022, we only had Pedri. So of course Barcelona could not move on from Pedri. Pedri was the only option. He was our only creator. But like I have said, what Xavi and Deco and Joan Laporta have been doing over the past 2 years, 2023 and 2024, has been phenomenal, which is why we are in abundance of pure number 8s that can take on Pedri's role. And so now that you guys do have the context on just how the world does view the relationship between Pedri and Barcelona and why Barcelona could be wanting to extend Pedri's contract past 2026, I want to give my own perspective. First things first, I am a big fan of Pedri, and I'm happy to see that they're going to be renewing Pedri for more years because his talent is undeniable. Now, unfortunately, he has been getting injured like 2 or 3 times every year since like 2021, and that is the one thing that does frustrate me the most, and what makes me believe that yes, there could be a possibility that Barcelona might eventually, maybe not now, but eventually move on from Pedri, because Barcelona can only wait so much. Eventually, Barcelona is going to be needing a world-class number 8. Gundogan is only going to be here for so long. Eventually, he might be leaving, maybe in 2025. Eventually, we're going to be needing somebody just as effective as Gundogan. Yes, we have named Gavi. Yes, we have named Noah Darovic. There are players that are up and coming, and I'm very excited about those players. But there is no one that can replace a healthy Pedri. When Pedri is 100% from a mental standpoint and from a physical standpoint, no one can replace Pedri. But in the end, when we are being realistic, we don't have that right now. Pedri is performing at like 60% of his capacity, and I hope that once he does return from this injury, which will be in about 4 to 5 or 6 days, he becomes a true monster. And I hope that this ends up being Pedri's last injury for the next 6 to 7 years. I don't want to see Pedri ever get injured again because of what he has gone through over the past 2 or 3 years. The fact that we're even having this conversation is because of his injuries. If he never got injured and he only acted like a normal player, right, maybe 1 injury per season or something like that, or like 1 injury per 2 seasons, we would not be having this conversation, and we would only be talking about Pedri's going to become the best number 8 in the world. He's going to overtake Gundogan. We should be having conversations about Gundogan being seated on the bench just to have Pedri in the 11. We should be having conversations like that, but we don't because Pedri is just not there level-wise. But in my honest opinion, Pedri is one of the most talented players in the world, but his body just does not allow it. And again, that frustrates me because it could be one of the reasons why he could be leaving in the future, because he does not end up performing. And I understand why, right? Why Barcelona are leaning or going to be leaning to other options in the future. But I don't want that to happen, dude. Like, I really don't, because he was being called the golden boy 2 years ago. He was the glue to Barcelona's midfield. He is the best supporter to any player in this Barcelona squad. He can assist you so easily. But when I see Pedri, and I remember seeing him through this season, every time he did return from his injury, he looked very slow. His body movements were slow. He took a long time to pass the ball. Like, where is the intensity, right? Because this guy is not 35, 36 years old, but he moves like if he's 35 or 36 years old. I need more intensity from Pedri. I need more energy, more urgency, more speed with the ball, passing, shooting, asking for the ball. I need more of that, more of Gavi's energy. Now, I understand, right? There's times and places for Pedri to act slow. Like, for example, Xavi's football does consist of the pausa. If you guys do not know what la pausa is, it's basically when a player receives the ball temporarily and he slowly dribbles. And when you slowly dribble, you're attracting more defenders towards you because the defenders want to have the ball, right? And when you attract more defenders towards you because you're dribbling the ball slowly, you're just moving around with the ball around the pitch, you take the defenders out of their position. And when you take the defenders out of their position, that is when you can quickly speed up play with the ball and dribble fast to those spaces that the defenders do leave behind. Or you can pass it to a player that does end up being unmarked only because that defender was trying to take the ball away from you. That is what la pausa is. It's a very smart play, a smart technique. It's one of the biggest reasons why Pedri continues to be like a highly praised player under Xavi Hernandez, because he's a master at that. Players like Busquets, Xavi, David Silva, when they were players, they were masters in la pausa technique. And that's basically what it is by attracting the opponents through holding the ball to leave space for others. But there's times and places to do that. Like, I get that Pedri is so good in those things when he's in the middle of the pitch. But when I see Pedri having the ball right outside the opposition's box, there is no reason for you to do la pausa. Like, he does that. He slows down the game or the play when we are attacking just outside the box. And I'm like, dude, like, don't do that. Like, don't slow down nothing. And he ends up slowing down the play. And like, I would understand if maybe he was 37, 38 years old, but dude, like, you're 21. You're 20 years old. I don't know. You're in your early 20s. When I look at Musiala or Florian Wirtz, they're just so fast when they have to like make a fast decision to make the final killer pass. But with Pedri, it's just everything's just so slow. I remember there was this game, I can't really recall it, but I remember Rafinha was making a run on the right side and into the box, but Pedri was just too slow to make that pass to Rafinha, and he ended up being offside. I'm like, dude, you did not have to be that slow. Like, where is Kevin De Bruyne? Like, I really wanted to say, someone signed Kevin De Bruyne, somebody signed Ozil. Those players, when you saw them at their prime, you can see just how fast they make those final killer passes. Pedri can do that. He's more than capable to do that, but he's just too slow. And that part of his game, when he does have the ball just outside the box, is so annoying. Everything else he does well, but that one thing and that one aspect of the game does frustrate me a lot. Let me give you guys an example. Do you guys remember when Pedri made that back heel pass to Messi that led towards an assist and led towards Messi scoring a goal against Juventus in 2020? That is what I'm talking about. Those fast play passes, not holding the ball, dribbling the ball, going left and right, trying to look for players that are open, playing it safe. Like, not that. Like, Pedri used to be a monster back when he was like 17, 16 years old. He received the ball and then quickly released it with a back heel pass and assist to Messi. And I'm like, that is the Pedri that I do want to see. And so in the end, I'm happy, right? So like I've said, we're going to be renewing Pedri. There is no loss that Barcelona is doing here. And I hope that when Pedri does return, it's the last one for a very long time. Once he does return, let's manage his minutes. And when he is in the game, he's effective, right? Very effective, short minutes. I don't necessarily think that he needs to work on mental issues or any of that. He's not like Ansu Fati. I just think that his body limits him. Pedri is not mentally weak. He has said multiple times, I am unfazed with the pressure. It's just that it has been very unfortunate that the fact that his body does not allow him to do what he wants to do. So that is going to be something that Pedri is going to have to work on during the training sessions. And so that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.